Hello, my friends, and welcome to this special video this week looking at the new moon that is occurring on the 17th conjunct with ALGOL, the famous Gorgon fixed star. This is one of the most life-changing new moons that will occur in 2026. You don't want to miss this video. If you happen to have ALGOL prominent in your chart, ALGOL is located for everybody around 25 to 26 degrees of the sign of Taurus. So if you have any planets within 2 degrees of orb of that area of the chart, you know that you will have ALGOL prominent in your chart. It is a Gorgon star, the star associated with the story of Medusa, and it can bring great prosperity and abundance and career success. But my friends, it can also bring huge problems. So you may get the good stuff, you may also get heavy duty issues and problems in life with ALGOL, the Gorgon star, prominent in your chart. But don't worry, at my Patreon family, I offer a video this month looking at remedies for ALGOL. If you're interested, all you need to do is join the Patreon family. We would love to meet you and share our journey of astrology love with you there. Also, for the price of a coffee once a month, that's all, you can enjoy a full moon report or a new moon report just like this one, because I release 3 extra videos each month for my Patreon family for the price of a coffee. Even if you just want to trial it for 1 month, you might find that this is your bag, baby. All you need to do is go to the link in the description below and join us for $5 a month, price of a coffee at the Patreon family. Now, before we jump into this special treat for YouTube, can I just ask if you could check if you're subscribed to my channel? YouTube has recently released an algorithmic update, which is seeing astrology platforms really tank. And I have lost 50 subscribers in the last couple of days alone. Surely that is not because everybody is unsubscribing from my channel, but rather something to do with YouTube's algorithm. So please check, if you follow my channel, that you are subscribed. Please like my videos, please comment, because we've got to get that algorithm back up and running to support astrology at YouTube again. So thank you for your help, everybody, and enjoy the video about the new moon conjunct with ALGOL. Welcome all my beloved Patreon friends. I'm so glad you're here. I don't know about you, but I have been growing more and more downcast and depressed for various reasons since we had the full moon in Scorpio. So just let me say, I am really looking forward to a lunar reset with this Taurus new moon, and it's going to be quite a doozy. But I'm so glad you're here. You know, your Patreonship always lifts my spirits. It's such a huge blessing to me. And I get to pray for you guys every day and give thanks to the divine for your presence in my life. And I pray that there is blessing bestowed on you for the blessing that you give me by being here. So friends, let's explore the nitty-gritty of this Taurus new moon. What's it all about? Well, in most parts of the world, it's happening on the 17th of May. This is going to be a new moon conjunct sun in Taurus at 25 degrees and 57 minutes. Now, this is a high stakes lunation. There is danger here. And that is in, we could be in a place of reaction, blind rage, panic, losing our head, because it's conjunct with the fixed star ALGOL, the star of the Gorgon. We've talked a bit about ALGOL in recent times when we looked at remedies for ALGOL, so it might be worth revisiting that particular video just to know how to navigate this particular energy. However, with this new moon, there's also an opportunity, and it actually resides in our ability to be wise, to look at a terrifying truth in our lives and take the decisive action needed to sever the ties with that truth. In many cases, that's going to look like severing ties with our past for some reason or another. You know, this full moon, rather new moon, forgive me, I get them mixed up. If I do say full moon, I will be meaning new moon. But this is a signature for a shamanic rebirth, and it requires you, therefore, to go into the dark in order to find the light, to look at our shadow side in order to liberate us from its hold. The new beginning that this new moon offers, though, as all new moons are, they're new beginnings, it's often going to, well, in this case, with this particular new moon, it's going to result in a permanent and undeniably powerful shift. I'm excited. Bring it on. I'm so ready. And in that sense, that's perhaps why, and I know there's some others out there watching this who've also been feeling a little bit downcast, because there is a reminiscent energy since the Scorpio full moon. It's an energy of looking over what's been, how we've grown, facing our shadow side, in order that the new will be birthed with this new moon in Taurus. So let the process unfold and be what it is. But let's look deeply at this chart now. Now, you'll see the chart when we go to the all signs, and you'll be able to identify these things. But firstly, this is occurring in the third lunar mansion. Now, the third lunar mansion brings an energy to this new moon that is fiery, intense, and quite emotional. Now, there's a number of things in this new moon that are causing emotionality. Be forewarned, forearmed, that's one of the hallmarks of this particular lunation. Also, this new moon is all about radical truth and honesty. Facing your truth, being honest with how you feel and what it's doing in your life. Also, we need to be careful in this lunar mansion of being cutting and critical with our words at this time. Watch what you say to other people, lest it come back to haunt you. Watch your own mental narrative about yourself and your life journey, lest it cut you down. You know, the way we think is so powerful and important. Now, pride can be a downfall, but you can channel that same energy that gives a prideful disposition into your ambitions and into your motivation. You know, be confident in your ambitions. Be confident and be motivated about what you want to achieve. Channel that pride into those sorts of things. With the third lunar mansion active, there is a need to practice self-control with your impulses, to look before you leap, essentially. It's also a time for being dedicated to some sort of cause or ideal. What does the divine place on your heart as being important and imperative that you address as part of your life journey? What cause, what ideal is dear to you? Invest in that at this time. Also, you might find in a very practical sense that this lunar mansion and its activation by a new moon might cause your appetite to increase. Be careful if you're trying to lose weight in that regard. Make sure that what you eat is actually healthy for you and not going to cause you troubles down the track. But also your enjoyment of cooking can increase as well. So, you know, plan some meals in advance and enjoy that energy of being in the kitchen. Now, another thing that is present in this particular chart of the new moon in Taurus at 25 degrees is that the moon will be out of bounds beyond the declination of the sun by plus 27. And so is the lord of this lunation, the ruler of Taurus, which is Venus, who will also be out of bounds, but only at plus 24. Still out of bounds though. What does it mean when the lord of the lunation and the moon are out of bounds? Well, again, we come back to this erratic, heightened emotionality, emotional intensity, emotional extremes might be the result. Also, it can result in us sort of tapping into our unconventional side. And everybody's got that somewhere. Some of us keep it hidden more than others, but you might be tapping into your unconventional nature. You know, when we have out of bounds planets in this way, especially in a lunation with the moon, it can indicate a breaking of the status quo. Because the moon is outside the sun's authority, this is a time that is prime for rebellion. It's kind of facilitating out-of-the-box thinking, and new cycles with the new moon started under this influence are rarely traditional. They tend to challenge social structures. They tend to challenge the established boundaries. And in that sense, it can be quite a blessing to get us out of a rut. It's also a wild card energy, so expect the unexpected. You know, a new moon out of bounds can manifest as a breakthrough in a creative project or some sort of sudden, sort of non-linear realization. You know, on a mundane astrology level, it can actually correlate with erratic weather patterns or social movements that seem to come out of nowhere. fascinating. Do keep your eye on what's happening in the world around the time of this new moon. Also, when we have an out of bounds new moon and lord of the new moon, we can have a heightened intuition. It's like the veil between the conscious and the subconscious becomes thinner because of this. So these are just some things to keep an eye out for. There are some problems that we want to be aware of, and then I'm going to tell you some really cool stuff about these unbounded planets. One of the first problems is that we feel ungrounded. You know, the lack of solar boundaries with this lunation can make us feel scattered and anxious. Worth noting. Another problem that we might experience is overreaction. You're kind of getting this gist already, you know, from the things I'm talking about. Minor triggers can lead to massive emotional outbursts. You might be on the receiving end, you might be on the giving end of those sorts of things. Knowing where it's coming from can facilitate an apology where an apology is necessary, and understanding if you're on the receiving end. Another problem with an out of bounds lunation like this one is social friction. Get ready. People might act in ways that are just totally out of character and completely, you know, get you by surprise. Not usually in a good way, I have to say too. But the cool stuff with this lunation, out of bounds, is it's a sense of radical innovation. It's an excellent time to solve problems that maybe seemed impossible to solve under normal circumstances. We have that aha, epiphany kind of vibe going on, and we can come up with radical solutions. Another cool thing, authenticity. Whenever we've got an out of bounds moon, it's a bit Uranian, you know, it forces you to look at what you truly need, independent of what society or tradition expects, and you start to actually live your truth. That's exciting. Another cool thing is freedom, again, a Uranian theme. Because when we have these planets that are doing wild card things, they act in an out of the ordinary sort of way, like Uranus is out of the ordinary. So freedom is one of the expressions. This is the ultimate cycle, an out of bounds new moon for breaking a habit or breaking a loop, you know, karmic loop that has kept you stuck in a traditional box. So I'm excited about this. It's time to upturn the apple cart, so to speak, and take things in a new direction. Now, Venus is the lord of the lunation. She is currently in the sign of Gemini, but she's also in a mutual exchange with Mercury. So Venus is out of bounds and Mercury is in Taurus. Venus is in Gemini. They've swapped signs, locations. They're in each other's rulership. They're in each other's houses, essentially. So when the lord of an out of bounds new moon is also out of bounds and involved in a mutual reception with Mercury, this wild card energy of this lunation becomes significantly more complex, as you might imagine. It becomes intellectualized. It becomes more communicative because Mercury is in Venus's house. The rules of social conduct and commerce and logic, which are all Mercury things, they all operate outside the standard jurisdiction of solar authority as well, because its governor, Mercury's governor, is Venus out of bounds. There's no, I guess you'd call it, there's no anchor to traditional reality going on here. Now, this could manifest as a period where our collective tastes, where the financial markets or relationship dynamics can undergo a sudden radical shift, and it might absolutely defy mainstream logic. Now, this is actually a signature for a pioneering energy or the outlaw kind of energy, which I think both are kind of cool. In mundane astrology, again, this mutual exchange can indicate the discovery of really clever loopholes. And if you're in a bit of a jam, bit of a spot, never has there been a better time than with this new moon to unravel it all, to find the solution, to get a way out, to find a way to, you know, circumvent the traditional road. This is most definitely not a time for business as usual. The means to achieve the new beginning that's coming in here, they're going to be unconventional as the beginning itself. So the mechanism is weird and unconventional, and the beginning is going to be something you didn't see coming. Get ready for the unexpected, my friends. Now, what's interesting in this new moon, and this has actually been the case for most new moons in recent times, that there have been no aspects within 5 degrees of orb. And that's not usually the case. So again, this is quite interesting. And in that regard, there's nothing really holding the new moon. nothing holding space by aspect. So very, very interesting kind of energy. The final thing that I want to talk about, no, second to last thing I want to talk about with this chart of the new moon is that it's happening at the degree of Aries. The Aries degree in Nicholas Stuyanovich's degree theory is all about constructing, building, or demolishing something, literally or figuratively, in our lives. So you might be going along your merry way at the time of this new moon, and something significant might happen around a demolition site for you in your life. Or you might start building something, literally or figuratively, in your life, constructing something new, because that's the energy of the degree of Aries. Also, the degree of Aries has ties to the ideas of around producing something, creating something, putting something out there to the world. So you might start a new project, you might begin writing that great novel that you've always wanted to write, you might be getting involved in a film. Like, it could be many different things, but it's about producing something. It could be that you're producing something in your kitchen. You're making jam or something with all the apricots that are becoming ripe in the Northern Hemisphere right now. Or you're producing something creative, like a literary work. Like I said, something could be being produced because of the degree of Aries being activated here as a new beginning. And it will be a new beginning with that item of production. Also, the degree of Aries has to do with military equipment or military personnel. You might be dealing with military equipment, you might be dealing with military personnel in some way, shape or form. The degree of Aries actually has to do with being on a corner. Now, this is just fascinating to me. You know, it's being on an angle and being able to see down that road and being able to see down that road. It's not a crossroads, but it's a corner. So you can see in a couple of new directions. And quite literally, you might find that something significant happens for you on this Taurus new moon while you're standing on the corner. You know, I think of the old song, Dean Martin did a version of it, standing on the corner watching all the girls go by. You might be standing on a corner watching the cars and trucks and buses and what have you go past, and something significant happens in your life. You get an amazing text that changes your world, or you know, somebody bumps into you and it's the love of your life. Something could happen on a corner. Now, degree of Aries is also machinery, tools, and engineering. There could be something significant around those things for you. There could be something significant around sharp implements, cutting something out or cutting something off. To cut has to do with these sharp implements at the degree of Aries. So literal cutting or figurative cutting. Bravery is a hallmark of the degree of Aries as well. You might require bravery. You might need to step out of your comfort zone and do something you've never done before, and it might take an act of courage, but it will pay off under this new moon. The degree of Aries also has to do with working hard, being industrious, and being enthusiastic. You might get really, really busy because of the degree of Aries being activated. Even though Taurus itself as a sign is somewhat slow and it takes its time, and it's not really an energy of getting things done fast, the degree of Aries brings that into this new moon energy. So you might be really, really busy and, you know, getting the job done. Aries degree is also associated with the head. You might be wearing a hat more than usual, or you might, I don't know, do your hair in a different way. Hopefully nobody injures their head, but just take precautions. Wear a hard hat where required. Wear a hat where required to keep the sun off your noggin. Look after your head, in other words, as a result of the energies surrounding this new moon. Red colours are the degree of Aries as well. It might be very auspicious for you to wear red for the couple of days around this new moon to really channel that energy of this new moon. If you want to channel more of it, there might be plenty to go around, so maybe you might want to subdue the red colours. But if you notice something in your life that's red, maybe, you know, you hire a car and it happens to be red in colour, that's very significant. It has to do with the new moon in Aries, at the degree of Aries, of course. So notice red in the coming days. Flames and fire also have to do with the degree of Aries. Wounds and cuts and blood as well. Hopefully no one experiences that firsthand, but there may be something like that going on in your sphere for some reason or another. Sheep, funnily enough, are associated with the degree of Aries. They might be driving down a country road and there's a mob of sheep in your way and you're just going to have to be patient, you know. Sheep might become significant for some reason or another too. Hot and spicy food might be on the agenda. You might go out for Mexican or Indian or something and you order the spicy hot dish. You may regret that or you may love it. I don't know, but hot and spicy food might be on the cards. And finally, the degree of Aries is all about being first, being a winner, being a leader. So there might be, a chance to get some sort of victory as a result of this new moon energy at the degree of Aries. Some sort of victory in life, some sort of winning situation, some sort of feeling like I made it, I did it, Also, some of you might be getting offered some positions of leadership and opportunity. So keep your eyes peeled and your heart open to what the universe might do for you in that regard. Finally, the new moon will be conjunct with ALGOL. I mentioned this in the beginning. Now, ALGOL, for those who don't know, is known as the demon star or the Medusa's head. And ALGOL represents, because of this and because of the mythology, a primal, raw power that can either be catastrophic or profoundly transformative, depending on how you channel it. Again, I'll just encourage you, check out the ALGOL Remedies video. It is a ripper. So that was shared with the Patreon family. So if you've got access to this video, you should have access, if you're a Bronze Star member or above, to the ALGOL Remedies video. But for this new moon, what does it mean? Well, it means extreme passion. This is not a quiet new moon. It's one of the most impactful new moons of the year. And it carries this visceral, guttural type intensity that corresponds to the mythology of Medusa. If you're familiar with the story, you'll know that Medusa, the ALGOL, the Gorgon's head, she had the power to turn people to stone just by looking at them. And so associated with this new moon is the power of the gaze. Like Medusa's stare, this new moon can freeze situations. It can indicate a moment where some sort of long-standing issue finally gets confronted and turned to stone. It can actually end a cycle very abruptly, almost instantly turned to stone, no longer an issue. I'm loving this idea, this concept that comes from ALGOL's involvement with this new moon energy. Also involved with ALGOL's themes are radical purging. A new moon conjunct ALGOL is often a cleaning of the slate through some sort of intensity. Now, it might feel like a crisis, forewarned, forearmed there, but it will always serve to remove what is no longer viable. Think about Perseus dealing with Medusa. He was in a state of crisis. Oh my God, I'm facing the Gorgon down, or not literally facing because he would have been turned to stone, but he used his shield to see her reflection and face the crisis. Courage, degree of Aries, remember we talked about this, but the ability here is to chop off the head, cutting, degree of Aries as well, and remove what is no longer viable in your life. Radical purging. The story of Medusa is a very sad one. You've heard me tell it many times, but it is that Medusa was raped in the temple of Athena by Poseidon, who thought she was a beautiful priestess of the goddess Athena. And Athena turned her into the Gorgon. I mean, it makes no sense. I don't understand the punishment. But there is, in Medusa's energy, the story of feminine power and rage over injustice. Now, given Medusa's history, this often will trigger themes at a new moon conjunction like this of reclaiming our power, especially regarding injustices. Now, that can be whether you're male or female, but maybe your feminine side as a man has been thwarted. You haven't been able to enjoy beautiful art or lovely music because you were poo-pooed for that as a child or something. And so in the case of a man, your feminine love of gentle beauty might have not been recognized. So it's not just man-woman kind of energy here. It is the masculine, it is the feminine. So what we're looking at here is reclaiming, whether we're a man or a woman, reclaiming the feminine side of us. And we all have a feminine side. It's a potent time for us to stand up against suppression of the feminine in any way, shape or form. It's not a time, and I'll just have to say this because I see it so much online, it's not a time for attacking the opposite gender. That's not what this is all about. Oh, all men are bad and all men, all they want is one thing. And men, it's rubbish, that kind of stuff. It makes my blood boil when I see that online. There is masculine and feminine in everyone, yin and yang. And it's a potent time for standing up against suppression of anyone who is living their truth. Can I just say that another energy to do with this particular mythology, and therefore this particular star, is the creative demon. You know, she's the demon star, ALGOL. Many of history's most brilliant, and unfortunately sometimes most troubled artists and thinkers have an ALGOL placement. I mean, you look at the list of people with a prominent ALGOL, it is incredible. It boggles my mind when I look at it. This new moon can spark a masterpiece by somebody brilliant in your circle, or even on the globe. Some sort of masterpiece born from deep, perhaps even sort of a dark inspiration. So there might be a new project beginning for somebody who has their planets or special manifestation points at this particular point in the chart, 25 degrees of Taurus. Now, on this topic of ALGOL, there are mundane astrology risks, so global risks. Now, this conjunction is often linked to significant upheavals in nature. We've already seen that that's the case with an out-of-bounds moon. Here it is again with ALGOL. So don't be surprised if you hear stories on the news of earthquakes or storms. Another way it can express is beheadings in leadership, a sudden fall from a high position by some political leader or something. So don't be surprised if you hear stories of that as well. You know, in a sense, this sort of sudden beheading can apply to us. You know, we might be beheading in our own lives some sort of toxic value system that we've been embracing for a while. And we might pursue this through unconventional, perhaps even shocking means, but there is a desire here for justice, you know, for fairness, for every side of us to be heard. And so you might need to purge some sort of, as I said, toxic value system so that you can step into your authenticity and your truth and get rid of this past that haunts you. So fascinating energy in the chart of this new moon. I'm excited. I think it holds the seed for some really wonderful shifts in humanity, but also in our own lives. And many of us are feeling the need for that for sure right now. In Taurus, let me just quickly wrap up this section of our reading by sharing with you some of the key themes of Taurus. In Taurus, substantial and material actions can yield really solid, tangible results. So Taurus is it's an earth energy, and it's therefore related to earth experiences. So yes, we might be cutting out old toxic behavioral patterns out of our own, psyche, but that is going to yield something shifting externally in our material reality. As within, so without. Taurus is an earth sign. So this could affect our finances. It could affect our possessions. If we have to apply for a loan, it may affect the outcome of being able to get that loan. It could also, because Venus rules Taurus, have something to do with some sort of significant long-term relationship. It could have something to do with like music that we hear or how we're decorating our home. There are some solid, tangible, outer world realities that can shift quite radically when we have this kind of energy playing out, because it's in Taurus, earth sign. The key Taurus themes are that we need to apply during this new moon, and you might like to do a ritual around this new moon. That's actually a lovely thing to do, a lovely way to work with this energy. But first of all, you need to understand what it is that you value in your life, and what how you want to see those things that you value grow and flourish. You need to understand those things. Taurus new moon gives us the clarity. We need to take time for pleasure, because Venus rules Taurus. It is all about pleasure, having good times, good food, the slow food movement or the slow life movement, enjoying the moment and not feeling like we have to rush and do and, be. We just get to enjoy. That could be another theme. It's a time also for beginning a new savings plan or a new financial plan and becoming more self-sufficient, reliant on your own resources as much as you can at this time, because of the energy of Taurus and Venus. We need to believe, if we're not doing this already, we need to cultivate a belief that we are worthy of the things we desire. We want these lovely things to happen in our life, and we lament them when they're not there. You need to look at your soul and realize, or look into your heart to understand, do I believe I'm worthy of this? And then do the mental work to create new neural pathways if you find that you have a disbelief around your worthiness. It's time to change that. This new moon is here to support you in doing that. You know, just to close off our thoughts around the Taurus energy, Taurus can be very stubborn. I will just say, because I have 2 children that are Taurus rising, and I also know many other people that are Aquarius rising, can I just say, I think Aquarius is the more stubborn of the 2, just from my observation of the people in my lives with those energies. Both lovely, lovely energies, so lovable, but a bit stubborn, okay? Taurus can be stubborn, but is also an energy of being very stoic and enduring, especially, you know, even in difficult circumstances. You know, Saturn, I can't wait till Saturn moves into Taurus, quite frankly. It's going to be good because Saturn does well in Taurus. Saturn is a slow moving energy. Saturn is also somewhat traditional. Saturn is very stoic. Saturn in Taurus, you know, there's similar kinds of vibe, you know. And because Saturn does very well in earth signs all round. But let me just say that this stoic endurance, which is the nature of Saturn, is also similar to the nature of Taurus. And you might be able to exert that more than ever now and push through your difficult circumstances, like I've already said, to come out the other side and find a solution that you've been waiting for. So what has been happening to you with all this Scorpio full moon and now moving into the Taurus new moon energies this year? I'd love it if you would leave a comment in the comment section. Fill us all in on what you're going through with new moons and full moons in 2026 and how they're affecting you. But for now, it's time to jump to our all signs breakdown and see how this particular new moon might be expressing or felt in your life. Taurus, once again, we are starting with your energy. That's been the case for the past couple of months because you've had all the planets moving through your sign. So many of my astro weather reports and so forth have been talking to you first off. And here we go again. New moon in the first house. What does this mean? Well, you might be feeling rebellious in some way. Not necessarily to the outside world, but self-rebellious, if you get what I mean by that. You might be feeling like you want to break away from your behavioral patterns, or the, you might want to break away from a certain aspect of your appearance and change things up and shift things around. So you're rebelling in a sense to yourself and maybe who you've always been. First house is self. This new moon is an energy of rebellion. So expect that there may be breakthroughs in that regard. Maybe you've been trying to lose weight. Maybe you've been trying to change your physical identity by changing your wardrobe or your color of your hair or something like that. And it hasn't quite worked. It hasn't, I had my hair dyed the other day. My hairdresser where I am, and it was terrible. It looked green. It was so bad. It was just so bad. Just as an illustration, I'm not a Taurus person, but that I was trying to deal with the grays that are coming through at my age, and it just did not work. And so what I ended up doing was going and getting just a box dye off Amazon and breakthrough. I'm like, why wasn't I doing this a long time ago? I can just do it myself. I can mix it to the color shade I want. I can do it as, dark or as light as I like. It was a breakthrough moment because I don't have to go spending a fortune. So in that sense, it's kind of an illustration of what I'm describing here. Rebellion against my grey hairs coming through, unexpected breakthroughs with the image that I'm trying to master, if you like, in the way I look. So, of course, I've given you a very practical example about somebody my age dealing with grey hairs. Well, for Taurus, it could be anything. It could be to do with health, and there's an unexpected breakthrough. It could be, being able to put your charisma out there that you get an unexpected breakthrough around. It could be some aspect of well-being or happiness that you have an unexpected breakthrough with as a result of this new moon. Very, very exciting energy for sure. Now, another energy of this new moon is being able to solve seemingly impossible problems. So maybe you feel like you've got a seemingly impossible health issue or a seemingly impossible attitude that is so ingrained in your mind, and you just haven't been able to change that mental pathway. Well, this is the new moon that can see things shift miraculously. A health issue can shift. Your mental pathways, neural pathways might be able to shift very easily as a result of this new moon. So start saying mantras, start conditioning your mind in a different direction about who you are and your worthiness and all that sort of thing. Your attitudes, your behavioral patterns, your the way you view yourself. This is the new moon that can absolutely solve a lot of those mental ideas about the self and how you align with who you are. So if you have any issues in that regard, this is your chance to change your mental programming about the self. And of course, as within, so without. When we change our inner perception and our inner understanding, it changes our external experience as well. Now, it is an energy that requires bravery. Maybe you've been overweight for a really long time. First house is weight issues and bodily appearance and health. And, going to the gym is scary. Going to the gym, this is just an illustration. It could be going to the gym, it could be going on a diet, it could be getting a personal trainer, but something to do with your image. It is scary to go to the gym when you haven't been for years and years and years. And, got to get back in those tight-fitting gym clothes and, I don't know if I want to do that and go out in public looking like that with my, in my skins or whatever. So it requires an act of bravery. But this is the perfect new moon to embrace bravery about undertaking this change, dealing with the physicality. And I've just given you one illustration. Please use your imagination around these themes to apply to you. This is an energy that might give you the bravery you need to change the first impressions you give, to change your aura, to change your energy, to change your self-esteem, to change your willpower. This is very, very powerful, Taurus, a wonderful and very tangible energy of change around who you are, what your body is like, what you think of yourself. And it can lead to a greater state of happiness. Be brave, be courageous, feel the fear, and do it anyway. You can make the changes that you need to live a more powerful life in the body. You might have to cut something off from the past. Remember, I said this in the introduction. What that could mean is cutting out, quite literally, old patterns regarding self-esteem, cutting out old patterns of eating, cutting out old patterns of diet and exercise, of course, to get healthier, to get fitter, to get stronger, to get happier. So there's definitely an energy. We're talking about ALGOL here, and we're talking about the degree of Aries of cutting something out of your life so you can step into greater personal prosperity. The last thing I want to say, both the first house, the degree of Aries, and ALGOL have to do with losing your head. The first house is the head. So be very careful, my beautiful Taurus friends, that you don't lose your head, lose your emotional balance, or go down a rabbit hole or off on a tangent or off on a rant or something like that towards somebody else, or interacting with other people or in some other circumstance. For example, you're driving down the freeway, someone cuts you off and you're tooting the horn and you're giving them the bird and you're losing your head. Just be really, really careful about that happening. Be conscious, be aware, because knowledge is power. And if you know I could be the one, you Taurus could be the one losing your head, then you'll be able to rein it in if you feel that happening. Gorgeous Gemini, rising, sun and moon people. Well, the new moon is falling in Taurus, your 12th house. This is going to be a very interesting time because this new moon is all about many things, including rebellion. And what we're rebelling against when it's occurring in the 12th house, we're rebelling against maybe past life things, and by past life, that can be this life, maybe you're rebelling against certain family patterns or an experience that happened in your past with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or with a boss or in any circumstance. There is our past represented. The things that are behind us are represented by the 12th house, and you might be rebelling against that. Now, that can be an internal rebellion, a psychological rebellion. You know what? That person let me down. It hurt. I'm still wounded from that. I'm rebelling against my state of woundedness around that, my state of victimhood around that. I am setting myself free because I am rebelling against what that did to me, that past experience did to me. So this new moon is also an energy that has to do with unexpected breakthroughs, getting an ability to undo some sort of self-sabotage or self-denial or self-destructive behavior that has come about because of something that happened in the past. You can absolutely have a breakthrough now with this energy. Also, this new moon is going to help you solve maybe something that feels impossible. Maybe it might be a sleep issue. It could be an issue to do with your, imagination. You're running away with you all the time and you're not being able to be grounded and realistic and practical. You might have an absolute breakthrough with that going on in your life. Maybe you've been wanting to take a holiday because your soul is burnt out and worn out and you need a rest, and you might absolutely have a breakthrough with that. Having a breakthrough in that somebody gives you for example, this is the House of Miracles. You might get a gift of a flight to Fiji where you can just put your feet up for a week and have a rest and heal your soul. Somebody might gift you something that allows you to rest, retreat, and recover in some way. This is one of the houses of healing, so that could be quite exciting. It is a house of holidays and retreats, etc. as well. But also, it's through retreating just ordinarily, like, having some privacy, some seclusion, some prayer, that you might have an awakening, you might have a breakthrough in your spiritual life because of this new moon here too. So don't be surprised to see that happening around the 17th of May as well. I do feel like this energy, it is an energy of bravery, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily bravery in your day-to-day existence. It's going to be more, you might in your dreams be experiencing situations of bravery. Maybe you encounter a snake, because we are in the Kalsap Yoga and snake dreams are much more prevalent, of course. You might encounter a snake in your dream, and instead of freaking out with fear and running away or feeling frozen to the spot, as I used to be when I had a snake dream when I was a child, you might actually be standing there in your dream, looking at the snake and just watching it slither on past with an energy of, I'm not afraid anymore. Bravery in your dreams might be something that you encounter as a result of this new moon energy. I do feel, we've already talked about cutting something off from our past, so I'm not going to repeat that, but there is an energy here of being careful not to lose your head. And in the Vedic sense of the 12th house, it has to do with expenses, debts. So Gemini, just be careful not to lose your head and spend a ton of money, or go into extreme debt that you can never recover from. Don't get a credit card. Don't take out a home loan under this new moon energy. Don't go into debt, because this is an energy of losing your head. So we want to cut out any debts and expenses. We want to have a breakthrough with our debts and expenses. So you'll need to keep your conscious awareness about you. It's very necessary that we don't sort of run off down the rabbit hole of, well, I need, to have this for my life to be successful, and we end up regretting our decisions at this time. So do be very, very careful. Watch out for large expenditures, and pray. Ask the divine, ask your angels on the other side for breakthroughs with regard to expenses and debts that you might be carrying, because this is a new moon that can absolutely help you achieve that in the most surprising, unexpected way. That's how I would be working with that energy, Gemini, instead of going out and going deeper into debt, another day older and deeper in debt, as the old song goes. This is a moksha house. It has to do with liberation. It has to do with endings. And I do think that for many of you beautiful Gemini people, there is the potential for a liberated ending and a cutting out of something from the past that gives you a sense of being able to move forward. Especially as the new moon following this one is going to be a new moon in your sign. So, you are setting things up for the coming new beginning that will happen next month when there is a new moon in the sign of Gemini. Cancer rising, sun and moon people. Well, here comes the new moon in your 11th house Taurus in whole sign astrology. What does it mean? Well, it's an energy of rebellion, actually. There is this sort of almost defiant kind of energy that this new moon has. And certainly you might be feeling a little bit out of sorts with a group or an organization or a political entity. You know, it's funny that this is happening, isn't it? Because we are in America, you know, coming into sort of the elections for governor of various states that is happening right now. So quite interesting. You might feel a bit of rebellion towards whoever is elected in your state if you're in the USA. Other parts of the world, of course, we can feel rebellious towards certain political parties and political agendas right now. No surprises there. And certainly I encourage everyone to get rebellious around Agenda 2030. If you don't know what Agenda 2030 is, then I wish I had some stuff to email you about it, but there's plenty online about it. Most of what you'll see, just on this topic, my Cancer friends, most of what you'll see about Agenda 2030 is coming from the UN, and of course they're spruiking it as wonderful. But you probably have heard the saying from Klaus Schwab, "You will own nothing and be happy." That's Agenda 2030. It's oligarchical rule and pushing people back into serfdom, where you don't own your home, you don't own your music, you don't own your car, you don't own anything. You have to rent everything from the oligarchs who do own everything. So it is horrendous. And I encourage you, my beautiful Cancer friends, get rebellious, because, you know, Cancer is an energy of patriotism, of a love of the nation, where you're born, where you grew up, and you know, it's a beautiful energy, Cancer. But you know what? That's something the oligarchs are trying to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of nations. They want globalism and a bunch of serfs who will just help them and their 1% of, you know, Epstein class to, you know, gorge themselves silly on the bounty of the world while the rest of us suffer. So thank you for letting me jump on my soapbox. Let's get rebellious, Cancer. Rebellious against the political systems. This is a house of systems, the 11th house, that caused this to be the case. So you might write a letter, you might do some promotion of, you know, for example, in California where I am, we want to see Prop 19 overturned by November. So you might start to do some rah-rah-rahing on your social media about that issue. Whatever issues are important to you, I encourage you to jump on that. Now look, I'm going to move off that topic because I can sit here yapping all day about that, and you don't want to hear me on my soapbox all day long. This is an energy of unexpected breakthroughs. For many of you Cancer people, I could see that you might have breakthroughs with a friendship circle, with a network, with a group, with an organization that maybe you're trying to get into. Maybe you want to join the country club and you've got to go through a vetting process and they interview you and all this crap. Well, you might have an unexpected breakthrough and suddenly they you know, speed your application to the country club, you know, through the process, and you get approval quicker than anyone because maybe somebody backs you or something. Unexpected breakthroughs in terms of, you know, being able to effectively function in a group or an organization or a club or some sort of communal situation. You could have an unexpected breakthrough on the stock market if that's something that you're into. Unexpected breakthroughs with your major goals and ambitions as well could come as a result of this moon energy. So this is great. This is positive unexpected breakthroughs in the big thumbs up, because this is the house of the loss of loss. It's the house of the great gains. It's 12 houses from the 12th. So positive, beneficial, big scale breakthroughs. Financially, with regard to goals and desires, gains, profits, ventures, winnings, all that sort of thing are 11th house. So, fantastic. You can also solve seemingly impossible problems. Maybe you've got a problem with remuneration from your career. You're not getting enough. You're not getting enough reward for the efforts. Well, you can absolutely, with this new moon energy, turn things around in that regard. Maybe you're having feelings of impossible problems with a friend who maybe is being difficult, or, you know, a group of friends are giving you the cold shoulder, and it just seems like there's an impossible circumstance that can't be dealt with, you know, in ordinary ways. Boom, along comes this energy. You can solve that issue, that problem, Cancer. Now, you might have to be brave, because this energy is an energy of bravery, and that might mean confronting somebody about the way they've been treating you, the way you've been behaving. Just don't lose your head. Remember, this is an ALGOL energy. We can lose our head with a friend who maybe have giving us a hard time, or a group of friends, or a political situation. We need to be brave and confront what's not working, what's not just, what's not right. But we need to also be careful not to go off emotionally down the rabbit hole, or go off half-cocked, as they say. So, yeah, keep the balance, I would suggest, my Cancer friends. Be brave, but don't lose your head. Also, I see this energy speaking to having some sort of a permanent and powerful new beginning. So we talked about perhaps, you know, joining a group, or joining an organization, joining a club, or, you know, getting part of a friendship circle or something like that. That is positive, you know, powerful new beginning. And it can be more permanent too. But it does mean that you might have to cut something off from your past in order to enter into that new beginning. Maybe, you know, you have a wonderful potential for a new goal or a new dream to manifest in your life, but it might mean turning away from some other activity that you were doing. So maybe you get this new beginning, this idea for, oh, I'm going to do this project, or I'm going to get involved in this area of life, or goal, or dream, or ambition. Let's say somebody asks you to make a film with them, and, you know, this is something you never thought you'd ever do before, but it's powerful new opportunity for you. But in doing so, it means you have to stop writing that great novel that you've written and start writing a film script. So you've got to turn away from a goal or a dream or an ambition that you had been focusing on, and start shifting it to something else. You see how this works? Permanent, powerful new beginnings coming in from this new moon, but only after you turn away from something else that maybe wasn't working, or wasn't getting as much traction, or was frustrating you in some way. So, wowee, quite an exciting energy, I've got to say, for our beautiful, beautiful Cancer friends. Lovely Leo, rising, sun or moon people, here we are in the 10th house. Now, this is telling me this new moon in your 10th house says that you might be feeling somewhat rebellious to authority figures. Now, I've just finished speaking to Cancer people, and I talked about being rebellious in a political sense. The 10th house is not so much political, but it is hierarchical. So it's not the political party, it's not the politicians, but it's more the governmental structures is what we're dealing with here. The system is an 11th house thing. That's what I was speaking to Cancer about. But for you, Leo, it's about the structure, you know, the pyramid scheme, for example, you know, that is governmental structure. So you might feel rebellious towards the corporate ladder, towards maybe a CEO who's making shitty decisions and you just don't align with them. You might feel rebellious against you know, the policeman who pulls you over for speeding. Like, this is the house, if you like, of people who have authority over us, and the police unfortunately do have authority over us a lot of times, not always for the good in this modern age, unfortunately. But you might feel rebellious towards these things. I would encourage you, don't lose your head. Try and keep your cool, try and lay low, try and, you know, fly under the radar as best you can. You know, if you lose your head under this new moon energy with ALGOL, it might give you a lot of trouble. However, if you keep your cool and rebel in, let's say, rule-oriented ways that, well, actually not rule-oriented ways. I take that back, Leo, because you know what? This energy is very much out of the rules of the sun. Remember, we've got those out-of-bounds planets that I spoke about in the introduction. And, you know, perhaps not rebelling in a conventional sense against authority, but you might see an unexpected solution against the implications that, not implications, the, what's the word I'm trying to find here? The I don't know, the blanket that the authority figures are trying to throw over you, for example. I can't think of a good word, but I'll give you an image instead. So let's say that authority figures are trying to make life difficult for you. They're giving you red tape to beat the band. You can't jump through all the hurdles. It feels insurmountable. The problems that these, bosses and governmental officials are putting over you, Leo, and all of a sudden there's an unexpected breakthrough. You see a solution, you see a loophole that you never even imagined would be the case. This is what this is talking about. So yes, it's talking about human laws, structures and hierarchies, and your ability to break through, to rebel against in an unconventional way these things that sees you through the other side. I will just also say that this is the house of our career, what we need to do in order to be successful, our example to others, and our public approval, visibility, and leadership. And I see you having a breakthrough in this regard too. This could lead to fame, quite frankly, for some of you Leo people. Unexpected breakthroughs that solve a lot of problems for you, like being visible, getting a leadership position, getting approval from the public might be part of this energy. Absolutely fantastic. But it would probably require you to be brave, Leo, to be willing to step out of the comfort zone. That's what bravery is. This is the degree of Aries. It's a brave, pioneering energy. So you might have to do something a bit different to achieve success in life. You might have to be willing, Leo, to go down a road you haven't traveled down before or never imagined you'd travel down for career in order to see success. So be brave. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It will be inspiring to others, and it will lead to a successful outcome if you embrace bravery in career and career choices right now. Trust the surprising outcomes that come from what the divine offers you. The doors that open that you never would have imagined would open, you can actually step through them now if you're brave enough. Exciting. And certainly this does indicate that a permanent and powerful new beginning is coming your way in career, Leo. In career. So, you might get more worldly power, you might get greater career success, you might get greater fame, better status, but you might have to cut something off from your past in order to embrace that new opportunity, because this is a cutting energy, it's cutting off the head of Medusa, it's the cutting energy of the Aries degree, and it's wild card out of bounds as well. So I do feel like something's got to go in order for you to move into some new opportunity. That might look like many different things. Maybe you'd always thought that you were going to open your own cafe or open your own, restaurant or something like that, but then someone comes along and says, hey, we need a car salesman at the local BMW dealer, and I know that you're really good at sales, we're really quite desperate, please come and work in the BMW dealership. Well, what are you going to do? This could be a powerful new beginning as a manager in a BMW dealership versus opening your own cafe. You might have to cut off that dream of owning your cafe for the time being until, this new opportunity solidifies, and then you've got a bit more money to burn when you open up your cafe. I'm pulling things out of thin air here. I'm not saying this is anyone's experience, but permanent and powerful new beginnings in career and career trajectory come after we cut something off from our past. It doesn't have to be permanently cut off. I'm just saying, that we might have to look in a new direction. Remember, Aries is to stand on the corner, Aries degree, which I talked about in the introduction. So you might have to start looking in a different direction and turn your back on the original direction for the time being. Cut that off for the time being. So, this is an exciting energy. When something is angular, it's powerful. If this is happening conjunct your midheaven at 25 degrees of Taurus, well, you're going to feel it really, really strongly. So I am I'm excited. Do leave some comments, my beautiful Leo friends, about what new direction you're heading in, what you are changing, what change this new moon brings about in terms of your success, your recognition, your worldly power, and even wealth as well, because in Vedic astrology this is a wealth house. You might see new momentum, seemingly fabulous, that you thought were impossible to get out of, breaking through with prosperity and abundance in life. Lovely Virgo rising, sun and moon people, we are in the 9th house, a very auspicious house to be having this new moon energy in. What does it mean? Well, it actually is an energy of rebellion. And I do feel, amongst other things, which I'll talk about as well, but I do feel that you might be experiencing, as a result of this new moon, some sort of rebellion against a guru or against some spiritual teaching or religious teaching as well. Maybe even a sense of rebellion against some sort of morals and ethics that are being taught to you in some manner. I know that a lot of universities, for example, teach a lot of new ideologies, we'll call them that. I won't use anything more insulting than that, but new ideologies that are not part of our classical legacy as a Western culture. And with that in mind, I know that many people are avoiding going to university, not just for the fees, but because they don't want to be exposed to these mindsets that are undermining our Western culture. So turning away from higher education, unfortunately, has become a form of rebellion against certain mindsets, certain philosophies, etc., that our current modern universities in the West are really ramming down everybody's throat. This is very, very interesting. And so you might be feeling into a lot of this kind of energy, Virgo, or experiencing it for yourself, or observing that kind of rebellion in the world around you. It doesn't even have to be in your life. You might just be hearing about, young people who are choosing not to go to university because they don't want the debt, and they also don't want to get brainwashed into certain ideological practices that they are not really attuned to or don't want to buy into. So very, very interesting what's going on in the world in regard to these kinds of things, in regards to beliefs, morals, ethics, and sort of philosophies. There might be, for you, my Virgo people, some sort of unexpected breakthrough to do with a 9th house matter. Maybe you've been having trouble, Virgo, with some visas or immigration issues. You could have an absolutely surprising out-of-the-box breakthrough with something like that, if that's what you've been dealing with. This is also the house of the conclusion, the outcome of court cases. And if you've been dealing with a court case or some sort of negotiation, you might have an absolutely fabulous unexpected breakthrough with a court case situation as a result of this too. I do think there could be some breakthroughs as well for some of you with a second life partner. Now that applies if you're up to your second marriage or second commitment, and maybe there might be a breakthrough in that relationship, a moving through what felt like an impossible situation in that relationship into something greater, more wonderful, more lighter, more beautiful. You might have to cut something off from your past in order to do that. So that could mean, and look, I'll tell you the story of my Nana and Pop. Both my Nana and my Pop met and got engaged and married after the Second World War. During the war, they both had a girlfriend, my Pop, and a boyfriend, my Nan, that were not my Nan and Pop, somebody else. And that didn't work out for one reason or another. For example, my Nana had a boyfriend who was killed and shot down in a plane in the Second World War. And that stayed with her whole life, her grief for her lover who had died in the Second World War. I'm not exactly sure what happened with my Pop, but he had somebody and it didn't work out either. So, where was I going with this? That's right. I was talking about cutting something off. There was a time in my Nan and Pop's marriage when they said to each other, we've been keeping photos of our old loves in our top dresser drawers for years. Don't you think it's time that we did something about that? And they both elected, for the sake of their marriage, to get rid of the photographs and the memorabilia around these first loves. So, that was really for my Nat and Pop, a really permanent and powerful new beginning in their lives, to cut off something from their past like that. Now, I was a bit sad because I would have loved to have seen photos of these particular boyfriends and girlfriends from the 40s. But I really respect my Nat and Pop for taking that choice, because a lot of time there can be karmic energy wrapped up in sentimental things from the past. And we need to clear those things out in order to get the energy moving correctly. It's an actual physical cleansing of our soul when we can declutter things like that from our life and remove them from our life, even though there's a place for sentimentality and there's a place for history and recollection. But all this to say, there may be something in a second relationship where there needs to be some clearing something from the past. And so that can help you perhaps navigate some impossible problems by releasing the energy and clearing the energy in a second relationship. Or maybe you are looking for your second commitment in life, and maybe this energy, Virgo, suggests that you need to clear something from a previous relationship in order to welcome in this new beginning with a potential second life partner. So if that's you, if you're clinging to old, poor me, this relationship didn't work out, I'm still in love with him or her, blah, 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 then it may be a very good idea for you to work on clearing that under this new moon energy, because it is ruled by Venus. And Venus is out of bounds. This could be the time when a new love could enter into your life, and you want to be ready for that. You want to clear away the past so the new can come in. There might be certain strong eureka moments, deep understandings that come through because of this new moon energy, epiphanies and recognition of new morals and ethics that you want to align with. I will just say that this is an energy, this new moon is an energy of bravery at the degree of Aries. So you might want to, you might need to be very brave about what you believe in and what you stand for now. It may not be easy, because it does seem sometimes like everybody around us has a certain belief, and we're often, we'd be surprised at how many people think like us but are too afraid to speak up and say something. So this is an energy of aligning with some sort of expanded vision or meaning or truth that you might need to be very brave to embrace. And I encourage you to embrace your bravery at this time. Also, this new moon, of course, in the 9th house will have to do with our travels to other countries. Now, if you have a travel to another country on the cards, if this is something that you are capable of doing at this time, it could see a breakthrough happening in your life. If you let's say you live in Croatia and you decide you're going to travel to Dubai, it could absolutely bring about some sort of breakthrough in your life. It could help solve some impossible problem that you're staring down the barrel of and set you free in some way. I feel that this is quite an exciting energy in that regard. For those of you who do get the opportunity to travel, it's going to be quite life-changing for you for the next week under this new moon energy. Lovely Libras, it is time for your full moon report, new moon report actually, let me get that right. And we are currently looking at Taurus, your 8th house, my Libran friends. This is the house of receiving. You might have an unexpected breakthrough, Libra, with some form of receiving. I'm excited by this because, of course, this can mean some sort of hidden money, a tax return, a big investment paying off, some sort of mortgage being finalized, an unexpected breakthrough with sources of other people's money. It's not a house of debt. That's the 12th house in Vedic astrology. But this is a house of managing other people's money. It's inheritances, it's wills, it's payouts, it's windfalls. It's physical, moral, and emotional support. You could get it all. Having a breakthrough. Maybe you thought, maybe you're in a dire place of need and you had to reach out and ask somebody for support or help, and that person's never been forthcoming with help before. This energy, this new moon, says, hello, you might just get a big surprise because they might come to the party in a way they haven't done so before. Energy of receiving here with a new moon that is quite profound in that sense. Also, this is an energy, this new moon, of solving seemingly impossible problems. Now, maybe you've been in a bit of a catastrophe or a tragedy in life. Maybe you've been experiencing a breakdown or a divorce, some dramatic reversal, some shocking event that leaves your head reeling. This is a fast house, and you might have been going through a really fast experience that leaves your head reeling, and it seems like it's impossible to overcome that trauma, that circumstance that left your head reeling. Let me just say, this new moon can give you the breakthrough that you need, but also the ability to solve a seemingly impossible problem coming out of, like I said, a catastrophe or a tragedy or a breakdown of some description. So I hope that that's not the case for my Libran friends. I hope you're not going through those sort of 8th house circumstances. But if you are, you have what it takes. This energy will support you in finding a solution. I'm excited. I'm really excited for you. Certainly this energy is one of renewal, rebirth, and restoration out of something that you couldn't see a solution to. You can be reborn like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Also, this is a house of sex and trauma, as I've said. So not that the two are connected, but let's start with sex. You could have some ability to solve a sexual issue, a sexual hang-up, a sexual problem that might have been in your experience. This is exciting as well. But then, as I said, this is a house of trauma, but it's also a house of healing. And so some seemingly impossible wound from a traumatic experience in the past can absolutely be healed now. Usually through some sort of in-depth research or confronting your shadow side, as they say, or doing some deep psychological work, but also some mysticism or magic, can be part of the healing. So it could just be that you decide to do a ritual, you decide to pray, you decide to perform some sort of ceremony perhaps, and lo and behold, some magic happens with this energy and you break through. You have a solution that energetically comes flooding in that helps you solve a particular problem. Don't be afraid to ask for help under this energy. Be brave, because this is an energy of bravery, and this is the house of how we should ask for help. So if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out. You don't have to be an island. This new moon in your 8th house says reach out, ask for help, and be brave about it. Be courageous, Whether it's financial, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, ask for help. You might be extremely surprised with the results of your bravery. This energy is also a very intuitive one, the 8th house. And a new moon in the 8th house always brings an increase in intuition. So don't be surprised if you get an inner knowing or one of those goosebump giving epiphanies that occurs. You might be doing some astrological research and suddenly the penny drops, everything makes sense, the jigsaw puzzle pieces fall into place. It is an energy for those sorts of awakening moments, soul awakening moments, of course, as well. Psychic activity is seen from the 8th house. I'll just also say that this, for some people, if you want to get really practical and tangible, can see a big career change happen, because this is the 8th house from the 10th. And so change comes, but it's positive change. A breakthrough comes with career, but it's positive breakthrough. Libra, this is exciting because this is the 11th house from the 10th. The 8th house is the 11th house from the 10th. And therefore it gives the achievement of dreams and goals and aspirations through a massive change in career, maybe a redirectioning in career. And it's coming as a breakthrough that comes seemingly out of the blue. We've got these out of bounds planets that I spoke about in the introduction. It's a wild card. It's like it's something you never expected would happen to you, and it happens. Breakthroughs with career that cause your career to go in a different direction, one that maybe you need. It's about getting out of a rut. This energy is about fast dramatic reversals, like I said a moment ago. So don't be surprised to see that happen. It can certainly unfold for our beautiful Libran friends. I do feel, though, this energy of the 8th house can be very much a very fast, permanent, powerful new beginning coming in if you're willing to leave something behind, if you're willing to cut something off. Remember, ALGOL, Medusa's head cut off, degree of Aries, to cut, to, slice something. And we've got this energy of absolutely quickly, fastly cutting something out of our lives so a new beginning is born. So that might be, it could be many different things, maybe, a sexual issue. You need to cut it out of your life, and energetically it changes everything for you and helps you move forward to more success and more abundance. Maybe it's an intimacy issue of another type. Maybe it's how you're interacting with your partner, business partner, marriage partner, whatever, about the resources that you share. And maybe you need to cut off reliance on your partner's resources and start standing on your own 2 feet, potentially. Or maybe it's the reverse. Maybe you need to cut off being super independent and start to lean a little into your partner's resources for some reason or another. But this suggests, as I said, some powerful new beginning after you cut something out of your life. I'm a Libra moon person, everybody knows this. And for me, I have been in a position where I have needed to loan money. I'm just going to tell you straight up. I have been in a position where I've needed to loan money to be able to stay in America, and for visa and immigration reasons. And lo and behold, I have never loaned money off my parents in my life, but I was brave and I approached my parents and I said, look, I'm in a desperate situation here. I really need your help. I did not expect them to say yes, because they've never said yes in their life to something like that. But I had to cut away my fears. I had to use bravery. I had to do something to get myself out of a rut, and that was the only thing I could think of. Lo and behold, I've been blessed. It is a house of receiving. The new moon energy here is fantastic, and I am incredibly grateful to my parents, who have given me physical support, but also moral and emotional support as well with my circumstances. So I just had to share that because it's such a beautiful illustration and a very real in the now illustration of what this is all about. Receiving from others that helped me solve a seemingly impossible problem. It was totally unexpected. It required an act of bravery on my behalf. It's a powerful new beginning for me because of this energy. And of course, I am cutting away something from my past, which was the belief that, and the past life experiences literally, where I had not been able to get that support from my parents in the past. So it ticks all these boxes. 8th house energy, and it happened very quickly, very fast. Got me out of a rut, got me out of a potential catastrophe, and I'm so grateful. What about you, my fellow Librans? Do you have something like this that you can share about this energy of the new moon in your 8th house? You're probably already experiencing it. It's going to come in very, very fast, very quick. You might have already seen signs of it happening. Boom, in it comes, and your whole world changes direction. You rise up like a phoenix from the ashes. What about you, Libra? Share your stories. Encourage us all with your experiences. Beautiful, beautiful Scorpio rising, sun and moon people. Here we are in your 7th house yet again. It's all happening in your 7th house during the months of April and May. And here is the new moon falling in that realm. This new moon is an energy of rebellion. So what this might be doing for you, Scorpio, is causing you to sort of feel a bit at odds with other people. Don't be surprised if you feel a bit antsy, and actually, to be honest, I think this will be coming towards you. Like, this is an energy where other people are going to be antsy, actually. Other people, your audience, your clients, your partners, your business associates, any contractual situation, people are going to feel a bit towards you. Don't let it cause you to lose your head, But we talked about this in the introduction, that this is a highly emotionally charged moon. And for you guys, be careful, because it's coming pointed at you. Other people attacking you, rebelling against you, antsy towards you. Just knowledge is power. You know, if you're aware, okay, this is the energy, you can make choices that, okay, I'm not going to respond to their aggression. I'm going to delete that post that's, you know, or that negative comment, or I'm going to just go to a different bakery this time where that horrible person who served me last time isn't there. And, you know, we just can make choices to do our best to avoid the confrontation or ignore it or let it be water off a duck's back, for warned, for armed there. But another thing that I see here for Scorpio people is that there is going to be some unexpected breakthroughs that occur for you with other people. So, you know, maybe it's dealing with an open enemy, your opponent in some legal situation, or your opponent in a career situation. You might have an unexpected breakthrough, because that's what this new moon energy is all about. You might have the ability to you know, to really have a breakthrough in some scenarios with certain clients, or with an audience, or with a patient that you're dealing with. Even this energy can be solving seemingly impossible problems. So for sure, you could even, maybe you're dealing with a patient or a client and it seems insurmountable, and boom, if you're their healer or their therapist or whatever it might be, you can actually have a really productive session or treatment or whatever, because this energy does speak to breakthrough. So there's a kind of a dual energy going on here. One is that people might be rebelling against you and cranky towards you. The other side of the railway tracks is that there might be some momentum and some breakthroughs and some positive forward momentum for anyone who is your clients, your audience. So it could go either of those two ways, I feel. But I just want you to be forewarned, forearmed, just in case things don't go in the more positive of those two approaches. So yes, you could be solving some seemingly impossible problems, but also this could be problems with agreements, contracts, commitments, promises, vows. Maybe, you know, there was an imbalanced agreement that seemed unjust or unfair in some way. You could absolutely have a breakthrough with that now and get things back on track. Maybe there's an adjustment to an agreement or a contract that takes place. But you might need to be brave, actually, my beautiful Scorpio friends, about dealing with that. You might need to approach someone and say, hey, look, this contract we signed is really not very fair. I didn't realize that at the time. Can we draw up a new contract and get rid of this old one? You might need to be brave about, you know, some negotiation or mediation kind of situation. You might need to be brave about stepping into some sort of mediation. This is another of the houses of divorce, you know. The eighth house is the results of a divorce, you know, the end of a divorce. Whereas in the seventh house, it's the process of a divorce. So you might need to be brave about a process you might be dealing with at the moment regarding a divorce. Could also be brave about how you're dealing with a broken contract or a broken vow in some other situation too. And certainly, again, there is an ability here to have a breakthrough and solve some problems. But again, it will require some bravery if you're dealing with a divorce and or dealing in the process, in the throes of dealing with some sort of legalities. I do see a permanent and powerful new beginning coming your way, Scorpio, with relationship. So this could mean, okay, maybe you're in a business partnership or a business situation where you're partnering with a multimedia company to promote your business. But maybe that new beginning, that powerful new alliance that you're going to form, can only happen once you've cut ties with your old media marketing organization that was, you know, taking you to the cleaners, not doing the right thing by you. You know, it's very interesting, just as a scenario here, I was advised by a business advisor to move my website to Kajabi. And I'm not impressed with Kajabi at all. You know, it's very expensive for no more greater services than what I had before. So as an example, I'm not a Scorpio person, but as an example, I am looking at having a new beginning by moving my website yet again. And I'm going to have to cut my ties with Kajabi to do so. So that's a collaborative work, you know, me, my business, Guiding Star Astrology with Kajabi. And I am looking at starting a powerful new beginning, cutting off my association with Kajabi and moving to a different host that is far more economical and can do everything I want it to do. So, you know, permanent, powerful new beginnings after cutting an old alliance, an old agreement, an old interaction, an old client, an old audience member, maybe an old relationship, old business partnership off so that you can turn over a new leaf. I just encourage you, you know, don't lose your head. Don't lose your head as you deal with these people. Because that's the energy of Medusa, and we want to use knowledge as our power. Okay, this is the new moon energy. I'm going to keep my cool as I try and navigate a brand new start with audience and so forth, with contracts, with agreements, and all that kind of thing. So there's my insights, Scorpio, into this new moon energy. I hope it's a good one for you, but I know you have the courage and the bravery. You are ruled by Mars after all, to be able to take this bull by the horns and work through these issues to come out in a really positive place at the end of this new moon. Sagittarius, rising, sun and moon people. Well, here we are, my friends, in the 6th house. This is a very exciting energy. This new moon energy is one of unexpected breakthroughs and being able to solve seemingly impossible problems. You may have been already feeling into this, perhaps in your workplace, in the lead up to this new moon. Maybe you are having issues in your workplace, maybe conflicts with other people in your workplace, maybe could have been difficulties if you're offering some sort of service. Maybe this is a house of service, so if your workplace has to do with offering services to people, things like teaching, plumbing, repair work, etc. All services are seen through the 6th house, and there might have been some issues there, some problems there. Issues with employees is also seen through the 6th house as well. This is a new moon of breakthroughs. Okay, your service industry might have been struggling. Boom, along comes this new moon energy, and suddenly you've got more clients than you can imagine, and your service is in demand. Maybe you are having issues with your employees. They're arcing up, they're complaining, they're causing you all sorts of trouble. Boom, along comes this new moon, and you push through to another side where everybody's happy. How did that happen? Unexpected breakthroughs, solving seemingly impossible problems in the workplace, of course. Not only that, but this is an energy, my beautiful Sagittarius friends, where you may require bravery. Bravery about dealing with issues in the workplace, yes, so don't be afraid to step forward and sort things out. You might be very surprised at the outcome. But bravery also in regard to health. I see for many Sagittarius people a real opportunity to be brave about a health issue, like going to a practitioner that maybe you never would have considered going to before. Maybe because this is the degree of Aries, ruled by Mars, degree of Aries, you might go to an acupuncturist, and you've never been to an acupuncturist in your life, and it does wonders. That sort of thing. Some sort of health practitioner, wellness practitioner, or nutritionist, or dietitian, and all those sorts of things that can be maybe out of the box for you, out of your comfort zone, and you need to be brave about going and dealing with those things. It can absolutely give you perhaps the solution that you've been looking for health-wise. This is a house of our well-being and our health. It might also require some bravery, hear me out here, some bravery to cleanse things. Why would that be the case? Sometimes Taurus energy is a real hoarder. It keeps, and here in the 6th house, clutter and, stuff and, just so many things can absolutely cloud our energy, cloud our ability to move through our everyday life in lightness of being. And you might need a bit of bravery in the 6th house to clear, to cleanse, to rebalance what is out of balance in terms of your stuff, Taurus stuff, Taurus things, material possessions. So there is a really helpful energy available to you with this new moon by clearing out your stuff, going through your cupboards, cleaning, literally cleaning, getting the bleach out and cleaning, but also decluttering. And it may require some bravery to face that. We get a lot of inertia around our stuff a lot of the time, and this is very common in Western cultures. My grandmother lived through the Great Depression. All my grandparents did, but my grandmother, it hit her particularly hard, and she was quite, almost to the point of paranoid about being austere and working with hoarding, if you like, or keeping things. She used to keep elastic and replace the elastic in her underwear when it wore out, because she'd lived through the Depression when they had nothing, when having things was a luxury. So I don't know how I got onto that topic, forgive me, but sometimes there can be this energy here in the sixth house of keeping things for your everyday use to the point of clutter. And so I encourage you to embrace your bravery about dealing with those things, because when we balance our surrounds, the sixth house is our everyday surrounds. When we balance our surrounds, then we find that our energy shifts. We're happier. Good things flow easier to us. Life feels lighter and more abundant. So again, I come to this topic, you might need some bravery to do that, but also this energy of the new moon is about a permanent and powerful new beginning coming after we cut something off, after we cut something out. So I do think decluttering is essential for Sagittarius people. It's going to give you an energetic new beginning, a turning over of a new chapter. So if you're finding life is not moving forward in your everyday routines, your daily work, your health, and you are stuck in a rut, clear, and cut things out of your life. Cut too much materiality out of your life, and you will see an energetic shift. It will be amazing. This is the house also about being humble, and this energy of the new moon conjunct the Medusa's star, ALGOL, speaks to not losing our head. Don't get all egotistical now. Don't lose your head. Keep humble. And in doing so, you will see more success in your life. Don't feel like you've got to be up on the pedestal. Don't feel like you have to be seen by the world. There is more benefit for the next 2 weeks as this new moon energy unfolds in you being humble, being willing to serve and help and heal and fix, being there for other people, being supportive of other people right now. Also, forgiveness. Forgiveness is very connected to the sixth house. The digestive system is also connected to the sixth house, and often these two are linked. When the digestive system isn't working properly, there is often a need to forgive someone. Maybe it's your parents because they got divorced. Maybe it's your brother or your sister because they did XYZ to you when you were children. There might be a need to forgive, and when we can forgive, by cutting out that feeling of I'm a victim, poor me, it's not fair, I'm upset, when we can forgive and cut that out of that negativity out of our life, it can actually bring a powerful and permanent new start for our digestive system and our digestive health. So absolutely amazing energy is available here for our beautiful Sagittarius friends in that regard. Be brave. Expect that a lot of the adversity and problems that you've been experiencing are about to disappear, and problems, this is a house of problems too, are about to be solved. Everyday problems, everyday life problems are about to be solved and rectified through this new moon. Unexpected breakthroughs in an everyday sense are coming your way. Healing is coming your way. Healing of financial situations also coming your way, my Sagittarius friends, because this is a house that has to do with where we struggle, and debt and financial issues are where we struggle. This is a wealth matters house in Vedic astrology, so absolutely breakthroughs can also happen there. Basically, the sixth house is where things are out of balance, where things are not working right. And of course, that can be financial, it could be health-wise, to do with digestion, to do with illness. It can be at work, in our everyday environment, to do with people who are our subordinates, etc. It's enemies, because that creates imbalance in our life. This is the house of imbalance in many areas. And in your imbalanced areas of life, problem-solving energy is coming your way with this amazing new moon. So I'm looking forward to hearing your stories, my beautiful Sagittarius friends, about how your problems, your issues, your imbalances were resolved by this amazing new moon that brings breakthroughs. Gorgeous Capricorn rising, sun and moon people, here we are with the new moon in your fifth house. We've been talking a lot about the fifth house in many of my reports over the last few weeks. That's because there's been a lot of energy in Taurus and it's not over yet. Here is the new moon bringing potentially big changes in your career, maybe a reinvention of career, a renovation of your career, a sudden reversal in career because it's the 8th house from the 10th, but a lucky house, a joyous house. I see you having an unexpected breakthrough in career that brings more joy into your life, more fun into your life, more happiness into your life, more creativity into your life. It will happen in an amazing way for our Capricorn friends. This is also a house of ego validation. What do you need to do to feel more validated in yourself? Well, this new moon speaks to being brave. So maybe you need to be brave about something, brave about putting your creativity out there, brave about choosing to do what you enjoy the most and having some playfulness in your life instead of having so much duty in your life. Maybe you need to be brave about doing that. Maybe you need to be brave about approaching someone for a date, quite literally in the 5th house of romance. Maybe you need to be brave about something to do with your inner child and honoring your inner child in some manner. Maybe you need to be brave about joining a sports team. The 5th house quite literally is sports we enjoy, not professional sports, but sports for enjoyment. Maybe you need to be brave about that. All of these things, all of these areas that are 5th house areas can be a source of joy to us if we are brave now under this new moon energy. So feel the fear and do it anyway, my beautiful Capricorn friends. You might be very surprised at the outcome. I see that this is a rebellious energy too. And I just want to say that this is a house of children. So don't be surprised if your kids are a little bit defiant, a little bit, we don't care what you say, Mum, we're going to do what we want, or we don't care what you're doing, Dad, we want to do our thing. Don't be surprised to see some rebellion, and be a bit gracious about it if you're a parent, my beautiful Capricorn friends, because it's an energy. Your kids are so receptive to energies. They pick up on it all, and they're just responding to the new moon energy of rebelliousness. So don't go too hard on them, Maybe teach the lesson, but don't be too full of punishment for any rebellious energy that comes forward. Maybe you could redirect your children into playing sports or into doing some sort of hobbies instead of this rebellious energy coming out from this new moon. I do see that there is a powerful and permanent new beginning coming your way in the field of relationships, but I do feel that something will need to be cut off first for that new beginning to start. So maybe you need to cut out an old boyfriend or a girlfriend from your life. Maybe your old boyfriends kept texting you and it really annoyed your current boyfriend, rightly so. So maybe you need to tell your old boyfriends to bugger off and, give you that space to allow your new beginning relationship to flourish. So that's one kind of energy. Maybe it's an attachment to a past love, or maybe even an attachment to an ideal about love, a vision about love. Maybe that needs to be let go of in order to actually enjoy and appreciate what you actually have. Two birds in the bush, a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. That's the old saying. Maybe you need to enjoy the bird in your hand rather than being all about the birds that are in the bush. Know what I mean? So cutting something off romantically so that you can have a new beginning in romance and love and relationships. I'd also just say, Capricorn, that regarding love and romance, be careful not to lose your head. This energy is ALGOL, after all, Medusa loses her head. You don't want to lose your head in love and romance. This could be an energy where you fall for somebody. You fall madly in love with someone and then you change your whole life for them, and even though it's not a solid long-term commitment. Don't lose your head because you may regret it in the long term. Another thing that I'm seeing here is that this is the house of our parents' financial situation, because it's the second house from the fourth house representing the parents. So for some Capricorn people, then you might see your parents having some sort of unexpected breakthrough or being able to solve some seemingly impossible problem with this energy. That could be really powerful on a financial basis for your parents. So we all wish for our parents to be flourishing and abundant in life, just as we wish that for our children and we wish that for ourselves. So in that sense, this could be a new moon energy that really brings some benefit in that regard. Beautiful Aquarius, rising, sun and moon people, here we are in the fourth house where there is a new moon in Taurus. There's been so much Taurus energy lately, and here it is again. This is going to be quite a fabulous new moon, and I'm excited to share it with you. But first off, this is an energy of rebellion. Breaking free from something, being liberated from something. And this could see you wanting to break free from your genetic line or ancestry, from maybe an inherited family business, or maybe the maternal line. Maybe, the maternal line might have been I don't know, could have been oppressive, or it could have had certain belief systems or something that you just don't align with anymore. And this is seeing you want to sort of break free from that, rebel against that maternal line. It could even be a paternal line, depending on whether your mother or father is the one that wears the pants. But the fourth house is the more passive, let's say, of the parents, and the family line of the passive parent. This energy might see you even seeing some unexpected breakthroughs and solving some seemingly impossible problems when it comes to home safety, home security, home stability. Maybe you haven't been able to find a rental for, eons, and there's an unexpected breakthrough that comes your way with this new moon energy in your fourth house, and you find a rental that's at the perfect price and the perfect size, and it's got everything you need, and awesome, fantastic. Maybe if you've got a house that you're trying to sell and it's just been on the market forever and you really need it to sell, but nobody's, bought, or bought, bit the hook, so to speak, bit the bait. And then along comes this new moon, and suddenly somebody comes out of the blue, unexpected breakthrough. You can sell a property because somebody takes the hook, takes the bait for your house or your property that you're trying to sell. This is also our inner home, and so sometimes this is an energy of our emotions and how comfortable we feel about ourselves. If you've been feeling uncomfortable emotionally, sad, down, depressed, or that kind of thing, this energy can absolutely bring an emotional breakthrough that sees you solve some emotional problems, sees you step into a state of greater happiness, greater joy, greater well-being internally. So in that sense, very, very exciting as well. Your inner home and how you feel about yourself might be going through an absolute breakthrough too. Domestic life is seen from the fourth house. So again, we have a breakthrough coming with this new moon here. So that could mean, maybe you felt just overwhelmed because you were working, big hours and long shifts, and the house is getting out of control and in a mess. And so you with this energy of the new moon, you find that you can hire someone to come in and clean your house for you so that you don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's a breakthrough with your domestic life. You can enjoy your home more. You can feel peace in your home more because it's clean, it's tidy, it's not a mess, because you've been able to employ somebody to clean for you. The good thing is AI will never be able to replace a cleaner. So, yay. But yeah, this could be another way that this expresses, of course. This is also the house of our mother or father. Remember, I said the passive parent. So you might need to, or I could see a parent needing to make a powerful new beginning in their life, but they may need to cut something out of their past. Maybe, for example, your mum and dad got divorced years ago and your mum has never recovered from it, and she's always been down and sad and whatever since that. Well, I could see a powerful new beginning coming for your mother with this new moon energy, provided she has the capacity and the willingness to cut that I'm a victim, I miss my husband who left me, blah, 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 from her past. That's an illustration, but there's many ways this can manifest. If your parents are able to cut something out of their past that maybe is holding them back, they could actually go through a powerful and permanent new beginning in their life that maybe is very much needed. You too, my beautiful Aquarius friends, when it comes to parenting your own children. This is an energy of having a powerful new start with children by being able to cut something out of your past. Maybe you had hang-ups about how you would parent because, of the way you were raised. Along comes this energy, and, you have a powerful new beginning by realizing that you're not your parents, you're you, and you have free will with how you choose to parent your own children. And so you have this fresh start with your parenting style by, perhaps realizing and releasing these ideas about parenting from your past, for example's sake. I would suggest also, though, this is an energy of losing our head because it is conjunct ALGOL, this new moon. So, don't lose your head. Like, let's say you're out there looking for some real estate to buy. I would suggest keep grounded, keep realistic. Don't run away with the fairies about your potential to live in XYZ house, and this could be if you do, run away with yourself and lose your head about a particular house that you fall in love with, you may end up getting into a state of debt that you can't get out of. Don't lose your head. This is to be forewarned, forearmed. and keep grounded and realistic about a property that you want to buy, about a potential real estate sale or a rental property. Keep grounded, keep realistic about what you can and cannot have based on your budget, based on your circumstances, etc. This also applies to in Vedic astrology, things like cars, boats, etc. The toys that we have as adults, fourth house energy, luxuries and toys in Vedic astrology is seen from the fourth house. So don't lose your head regarding this. I had the necessity to buy a bigger car because our family got bigger when I married David, and Jupiter was transiting my fourth house at the time of luxuries and toys. And to be honest, Jupiter is not in good dignity in the sign of Gemini, which is my fourth house. Kesenya buys a bigger car for the family. In a sense, I feel like I lost my head because now I'm living in America with a brand new car in Australia that I am having to pay the loan on and not getting the benefit of it, not being able to use it, also not able to sell it, unfortunately. I'm hearing you all say, why can't you sell it, Kesenya? Because the company that I bought it from is demanding a $6,000 early payout if I was to sell it. So I don't have an extra $6,000 plus however XYZ money they require. So this is just an example of losing your head regarding some luxury or toy or vehicle, which is a fourth house thing. It's not necessarily always a luxury. It's a necessity sometimes to have a vehicle. But this is a perfect example of me having lost my head and then regretting it later on. So my dear darling friends out there, don't lose your head regarding vehicles, luxuries, toys, real estate, domestic situations and domestic decor, etc. Try to keep your feet on the ground, especially in these quite volatile financial times. You want to be able to be sensible and I would say even austere in these times. Don't lose your financial head. Taurus energy in the house of luxuries and toys and vehicles, etc. Pisces rising sun and moon people, here comes the new moon annually occurring in your third house. And this is a very special new moon though. I'm excited by it because it's bringing unexpected breakthroughs to your third house. Now, if you run your own business, Pisces, this could see an unexpected breakthrough in your business, in your transactions, in your ability to sell something. So, maybe you've been trying to promote something in your business or trying to set up a market stall or something like that. And, maybe marketing wasn't working. Marketing is a third house thing. You felt like you're banging your head against a brick wall trying to move a certain item or, maybe sell your skill sets, which is also a third house thing. And here comes this new moon that gives you the breakthrough that you need, that solves this impossible problem of being able to market yourself and market your transaction or your trade item, whatever it is that you're wanting to sell. Buying and selling is a third house thing. This changes everything. So I'm excited for this for you if you are a business owner, my beautiful Pisces friends. Also, in Vedic astrology, this is the house of ambition and drive. And maybe you have been a bit lackluster with your ambition and drive. Along comes this new moon and boof, you actually have a new beginning and a new start that you suddenly feel all fired up, ready to go, ready to make it happen. Pisces people have Aries in the second house. This is so good for being entrepreneurial. Lots of Pisces people are entrepreneurial. Absolutely fantastic. And this ambition and drive, getting a bit of a kick in the butt from the new moon here, is fabulous for really moving ahead with any entrepreneurial ventures that you've got unfolding at this time. This is also the house of bravery, but bravery from a good, positive mental narrative. You're confident, so you're brave. You're confident that things will work out, so you're brave. Well, it's a double whammy brave energy for Pisces people because this is the house of bravery and this energy of the new moon is also about bravery. You got what it takes to step out of your comfort zone this week in abundance, my beautiful Pisces friends. So this might give you the courage and the bravery to create new friendships in your life, to approach neighbors and siblings, to join a workshop or, workshop group, small groups are seen through third house energy, and you might be feeling very brave about that sort of thing. You might be also very brave about your being able to market or promote your business, which is what gives you this breakthrough that we're talking about. I have to tell you a story. My husband's a Pisces moon. He has embraced a marketing approach for his Kung Fu school, which involves going up to people on the street and saying, "Hi, I'm new in the area. I've got a Kung Fu school. Just wondered if you'd be interested." It's a very upfront, straightforward, interactive kind of marketing approach, but other marketing approaches weren't working. So, he has had to embrace his bravery, because it's not something we like to do every day. But he has had to embrace his bravery to try this new marketing approach, and he's starting to see traction. There is a definite energetic shift that is starting to give results. And so when I see this new moon falling in the third house for Pisces, knowing that this is my husband's moon sign, I am excited, because I see, because of his bravery, because of his willingness to get out of his comfort zone, he might have unexpected breakthroughs that come from that, to do with his small business that he's running, and the workshops, the Kung Fu workshops that he's running, the ability to promote and sell his talents and skills that he's developed over the years, which is so third house. So I'm excited for my husband when I see this, and I'm excited if this scenario describes anything that you're dealing with too, my beautiful Pisces friends. This is an energy of energy, actually, in Vedic astrology. This is the house, I should say, of energy. And this is also a moon of rebellion. So you might have a lot of energy for some rebellious situation. I'm probably feeling into this, but then I feel like there's a lot when I look at the world around me and the direction that the oligarchs and the Epstein class are pushing us towards Agenda 2030. You'll own nothing and be happy. Bollocks to that. I feel an energy of rebellion. I feel a mental desire to communicate how rebellious I feel around that situation in the world. So this is a house of communication. You might be sharing rebellious, if you want to call them that, social media posts or articles or videos or something, because you're feeling courageous and because you're feeling energized to rebel against the norm, the status quo. Remember I said with this energy, it's a breaking of the status quo. So I'm excited, because this could see a lot of joy coming Pisces people's way, as there is unexpected breakthroughs with the status quo. The third house has to do with the news, being where the news is at. What's the latest gossip? What's the latest information? Also the latest propaganda, I'll add as well. And I feel many Pisces people will be able to see and experience some problem solving and some unexpected breakthroughs to do with, current affairs, media, news, etc. So whether that's Pisces people sharing some news that sees a collective breakthrough, that would be fantastic. But even, you might receive some social media news or an article or a journal or something like that. You could receive something like that allows you to break through a certain mindset, or gives you hope regarding a seemingly impossible problem that you've been addressing or thinking a lot about or focused a lot on. Chemtrails is a real bugbear to me, especially because I live in a country, America, and I lived in a country where chemtrails are everywhere and governments live in denial about it. Nobody talks about it in sort of high up circles, and everybody knows that it's happening. So I've gone down a tangent here as well, of feeling rebellious about that. And maybe, you post something about the chemtrails or something, or get antsy about the chemtrails, and you see some sort of a breakthrough through something that you share, something that you post, some news that comes to you. You receive some news or you share some news to do with some social situation, because this is a social house, of course. Now, I've gone off on a tangent there. Let me get back on track. I encourage you, under this energy, Pisces, don't lose your head about some social media posts because this is an energy that has to do with ALGOL. The beheading of Medusa, of course, is the story behind ALGOL. So we really need to be careful not to go down mental rabbit holes. Yes, an energy of rebellion can be good if it's leading to change and we can see unexpected breakthroughs, etc. But don't lose sleep, Don't let it eat you up. Don't let the worry wart come out in you regarding a lot of these current news and stuff that is being pushed. I was talking with my son not long before I did this video, and he was saying, Mum, I'm just not going to worry anymore about what I'm seeing on social media, because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to make me live in fear, and I don't want to live in fear. I want to live a good, happy life. And I was like, you little legend, mate. That is exactly the attitude we need to have. Yes, we need to be aware of what's going on, but we need to not lose our head about what we're reading in the news and about what's happening on social media, so that we can actually live a good life, because energy vampires feed on the fear that we generate. We want to live in joy and love and abundance, because that is the gift of the gods, and we have the gods on our side when we choose that energy rather than choosing the energy, the low vibe energy of fear and horror. So I just encourage you, Pisces, don't lose your head. Be aware. I'm not saying stick your head in the sand, but as best you can, try and focus on what's good and pure and kind and loving, so that your energy and your vibe is high, especially coming up next week with this new moon in your third house of how you think. I also, just finally on this topic, I see a permanent and powerful new beginning coming for Pisces people with a business. Yes, we've talked about that. Maybe through a short trip, you have a powerful new beginning. You go for a trip somewhere and you meet somebody who changes your life or something like that. Some sort of short trip, which is a third house thing, can give you a powerful new beginning. But I do see that there is something that needs to be cut out of your life so that new beginning can start. And in this house of our mindset, I feel that it's a certain mindset that needs to go, that needs to be cut out. Remember, degree of Aries, cut something out of your mindset in this case, so that a new beginning can start. A new mindset comes in, a new neural pathway is formed. So really be conscious of not losing your head when you find yourself going down that rabbit hole of worry and fear. Say, oh, Kesenya told me, be aware of this happening. You know what? I'm going to think about something beautiful. I'm going to go to my Pinterest page and look at all my beautiful garden pictures and just feel into that energy instead of the energy of fear. So don't allow those fearful neural pathways to form. Go to the good, and you will find when you cut out that energy of fear, that mental pathway that is negative, you will be able to have a whole new mental energy, a new beginning. And of course, as within, so without. What we think, what we imagine, where our mind goes is actually then going to affect our external circumstances and what we experience and what we see more of in the world. I want to see more good. I want to see more light. I want to see more love. Let's go there, my Pisces friends. Lovely Aries, how patient you are to have waited to the very end, or to have jumped to the end with the timestamps, as I hope that's what you've done, rather than having to listen through everything. I know for Aries friends, the wait can be a bit of a killer. But here we are with the new moon in Taurus energy affecting your second house. Now, this is exciting for you Aries people, because this is the house of our resources, the things that we have, the resources that we can lean on in our lifetime. Our natural capacity to make money. And here we have the new moon forming that gives unexpected breakthroughs, being able to solve seemingly impossible financial problems, financial issues comes now for our precious, precious Aries friends. How exciting for you. I also love this because it's actually in conjunction with ALGOL. And you know what? For Aries people, this is probably one of the most potent pieces of this new moon, because ALGOL is one of the most amazing wealth stars in the horoscope. So to have a new moon conjunct ALGOL in the second house, oh my God, Aries, this is exciting for getting into a position of stability, safety, security on the financial material front. So not only can we have some unexpected breakthroughs and solve impossible problems, you might actually get a bit of a windfall, I think. This is not the house of windfalls, but ALGOL is. ALGOL is big money. So just so you know, though, ALGOL can be big money, but with problems. So, yes, breakthroughs, yes, money, but there can be maybe other problems that you need to sort out. Maybe this in Vedic astrology is one of the houses of family life. So maybe you get a ability to solve a debt or get your finances in order, but there's something going wrong with your family life that's a bit of a distraction, a bit of an energetic drain. So don't think that okay, it's all just a bed of roses. Yes, financial breakthroughs, but there could be some other issues that crop up because that's just the nature of ALGOL. Forewarned, forearmed there. You'll know why and why that's happening if it does. It is also, this new moon is an energy that requires a certain level of bravery as well. So you might need to be very brave about your finances. I'm not saying take an educated risk or get involved in get-rich-quick schemes or anything like that, but it is an energy of bravery. You know what? I'm going to be brave. I've got this money in my account. I'm going to be brave and pay off that particular debt so that I can be debt-free. But hey, I'm going to have to start building up my savings again. And that may require a certain level of bravery to, lower the savings in your savings account so you can be debt-free, I don't know about you, but Aries, I love to have something sitting there for a rainy day. It helps my 8th house moon in my natal chart feel a bit more balanced and a bit less volatile. I don't always have it, but when I do, it helps a lot. So I just encourage you on that topic. Be brave about getting your finances in order. And maybe that mightn't necessarily look like having to pay off a debt. It could look like going and speaking to a financial advisor or redoing your budget. Maybe you need to stop procrastinating on that topic and start dealing with it straight up. And that can take a level of bravery to face up to facts about our financial situation, of course. I do encourage you also, don't lose your head about money and finances and resources, my Aries friends, under this new moon. We have to be very careful. This is also a house of spending, and the new moon energy here in the second house can see us lose our head and spend too much money that we end up regretting later. So keep your feet on the ground, take time, don't rush in, don't, just jump in without thinking. This is about, okay, let's weigh out my issues. Let's look at my budget. Let's look at my bank account. I'm not going to just run in and spend willy-nilly. Keep that in mind right now. There was another sign I was speaking to about that same kind of energy. Don't lose your head financially. I forget which sign it was, one of the ones in this reading, of course. Keep your balance, keep your mind, well grounded when it comes to what you're spending money on and also what you're giving as well. This is the house of giving support, giving help to others. Don't be a martyr, Aries. Don't be giving everything away. Usually Aries people aren't like that, thank God, but just in case you've got a bit of strong Pisces in your chart as well, which is to be the martyr, I just mention this. Giving is a second house thing. Don't lose your head and give all your money away and then have no money for your own food on the table. Be very conscious and careful about how you give and to whom you give at this time. You know what? Another energy of this new moon, Aries, is that it represents a permanent and powerful new beginning. And of course, in the house of finances and material stability, I do see you having a new financial start, turning over a new leaf because of this new moon. And it can be a very powerful financial new beginning. But it will only come when you cut something off from your past. Maybe you've been with a bank that is absolutely dodgy as, my husband and I had a loan some years ago. Now it's getting on with a really dodgy bank dealer, and every time we tried to ring for explanations of things or help or assistance, it was just like pulling teeth, and they were just no good. So we ended up shifting our loan out of that particularly dodgy company or dodgy organization, and we cut that off and put our loan with somebody else. And doing so was a really good thing that needed to happen. It changed the energy completely and our feelings around that particular loan situation. So I can see that this new moon might bring you a permanent and powerful financial new beginning, but you might have to change banks, or you might have to go with a new broker, or you might have to get some more financial education and leave your ignorance behind. Cut your financial ignorance out of your life so that you can have more financial success. On that topic, if you're interested in understanding the astrology of finance, then I've just been reviewing my Royal Stars Academy Financial Astrology course, which is available as a standalone course as well. And I've just been so inspired again by the information that I put into that course quite succinctly. So you might be interested in educating yourself and cutting out any financial astrological ignorance to help you have a new beginning with money and finances, my beautiful Aries friends. You can just go to the website, to the Learn Astrology page. It'll take you where you need to go to do that course if you'd like to. So yeah, this is quite an exciting time, but like I said, something might need to go in order for your finances to have a reinvigoration and a fresh start. I would also suggest, I want to get really practical here. This is about storage. The second house is how we store, how we keep, how we preserve things. Let me give you a literal illustration. You might need to clear out your pantry because it's got food that's out of date, so that you can have a fresh start, like room and space to put all your newly, created jam jars full of, jam that you've made over the weekend or something like that. This can be quite a literal cutting out things you've been storing that you do not need to store anymore, so that you can have more space for a brand new start in the pantry, in the cupboard, wherever. It usually does correlate to food, the second house. So it does have a lot to say about the pantry and what we store in the pantry or the fridge and that kind of thing. So I am seeing a necessity to clear something out food-wise, so that you can have a fresh start. And that is an energetic reset that will actually help bring more good things into your life with this new moon. Storage, as I've just said, is a second house thing. And when there's clutter and when things are old and need to go, when they've lost their use-by date, food-wise or otherwise, then we need to get rid of that so that the energetic flow of wealth and prosperity keeps circling into our lives. Otherwise, things become stagnant. So it's very much an energetic act to welcome in more wealth and more prosperity by clearing out the old, the useless, the unneeded, and not just being a hoarder. So I just encourage you to go down that road under this new moon energy, because there's a perfect time to clear out, to cut off, to get rid of past things, literal, tangible, material items that you do not need anymore, so that a new wealth energy starts circling into your life, my beautiful Aries friends. That is what I'm seeing for you in this journey with our new moon in Taurus this week. And I hope you'll join me in the weeks to come here at Patreon for the other full moons and new moons and wonderful astrological events that we have prepared for you here at the Guiding Star family. Thank you for being part of the journey. I love you all very much.